I mean, and if the Vikings blow it up, you could look at Cousins gone. You could look at Danielle Hunter potentially gone for a first-round pick. There are a lot of players that could leave the equation in Minnesota.
I mean, you'll be looking at Justin Jefferson gone.
Just stop.
Carry on.
Look.
Carry on.
So let me just tell you, I think the Vikings should be trying to trade Justin Jefferson now, and I'll tell you why.
Well, you understand every Viking fan right now is looking at the screen saying...
No, they're angry. So let me explain the reasoning as a Vikings fan.
I'm sitting back here.
Justin Jefferson wants to get paid $30 million or more a year. Someone's going to offer him this. But in order to justify that pay, you need big-time production. Now, we know Justin Jefferson can do big-time production, but when we send Kirk Cousins out, because he's either getting traded this year or he's sent packing next year, whatever quarterback we bring in is not going to be able to get Justin Jefferson 1,700 or 1,800 yards because they're just not going to be throwing that much. It's not Jefferson's fault. He'll be just as good as ever, but you're not going to get that kind of production. Meanwhile, you Reverschel Walker it. You get like 2 or 3 first-round picks, maybe a few seconds, maybe a good player in there, because Justin Jefferson is one of the true stars in the NFL. And you start your rebuild with a bunch of picks. I think it makes a load of sense to move on from Jefferson, because honestly, if they couldn't get a deal done this year, I'm not sure how much he wants to stick around. Would you want to stick around on a crummy team with no quarterback?
No, I mean, I probably wouldn't.
You know, I've also gone full 180 on my Caleb Williams takes.
I think he's amazing.
I think he's going to be amazing in the NFL.
What changed?
I think he's going to be like Patrick Mahomes. I was talking.
All right.
I was talking to a couple people, and they were telling me, like, it was my brother and my dad, and they were telling me, like, I was like, I don't buy this hype really, and my dad's like, I mean, he's going to be really good, man.
That was
like
it.
He's like, yeah, he's like
that's all that it took to convince you.
He's like, he does things that Mahomes does and nobody else can do. And I'm like, yeah,
so it's
yeah,
just
like, you're right. Like,
you just.
Like we were talking about. I'm like,
finally,
right. Like,
the last straw.
It kind of clicked.
Going back to Jefferson, a couple things, Ziggy. He's on track.
What if you get rid of Cousins? You're 0-3, right? Jefferson stays. You have Jefferson, Addison. This bum Mullins comes in. You go 0-17. You have Williams. You have Williams, Jefferson, and
well, that's in an ideal
Jordan
world.
Addison.
That's in an ideal world.
That's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, it would be hard. I was actually big time rooting for the Cardinals this past week in the events that we possibly move on from Kirk and blow it up. A couple of things, Ziggy, and I think it's worth having the discussion. Like, it's a crazy thought to just say trade Justin Jefferson, and I wouldn't do it, just to clarify. But when you're in the state of the Vikings with so many holes, and you have a piece that valuable that other teams would want at receiver, like Justin Jefferson, first off, is on track for 2,500 yards this year. I know it's 2 weeks, but the dude's amazing. He's the best receiver in football. When and by the way, Reverschel Walker is one of the funniest things I've ever heard about.
That was hilarious.
The Reverschel Walker trade. That is amazing. What would the trade package have to look like for you to even consider a move for Jefferson? And immediately the first thing I say is, well, would I do it for 3 picks? Would I do it for 3 first-round picks, Justin Jefferson? So I just looked up the past few Vikings first-round picks. Here's what we've had. If you go in order, would you trade Justin Jefferson for Jordan Addison, Louis Cine, and Christian Darrisaw? I probably would not.
I probably would not either.
Even though Darrisaw's awesome, I probably would not.
I'd think about it, but I probably would not.
Yeah. Would you trade for Laquan Treadwell, Trey Waynes, and Teddy Bridgewater?
No.
Anthony Barr, Cordero Patterson, Xavier Rhodes? Probably would for that one.
Oh, if Xavier Rhodes is locked down. Maybe.
Barr, Patterson, Rhodes, like I probably do for that one, but it's not a guarantee on these picks. And that, like, I wouldn't even, half these guys here, I wouldn't trade Jefferson away for like 7 of them in some situations. It's just so like 4, I think, is where I would be. Okay, you gotta.
But look, here's the thing you got to consider: Jefferson wants over $30 million a year. You also have to consider paying all 3 of those first round picks is going to be less than Jefferson wants.
I know, but Ziggy, he's the second best player in the NFL.
No, so I get this, but in order for his production to justify that number, you need a good quarterback. And here's the thing: this is a background assumption I am making based on how this has played out. The Vikings and Jefferson both tried to get a big extension done this summer. They couldn't agree because Jefferson wanted more than the Vikings were willing to pay. We've seen what happens when you get into extended contract disputes with players, right? That'll be the Vikings and Jefferson next offseason. Jefferson's going to want the huge deal. The Vikings are going to say no. Jefferson's going to hold out. We'll hold the franchise tag over him. There will be a dark cloud over Minnesota until it gets resolved.
I mean, there always is.
Yeah, but why go put yourself through that? Alienate your star player. Maybe he'll just want out anyway. Or while he's happy, while your fans are okay, while you can get a monster return for him, you say, we appreciate you. We love you. We can't do right by you. We got to start over. Bye, JJ.
Jeez. I mean, let us know in the comment section again, if you're a Vikings fan watching this, what would the price be for Justin Jefferson if one? Ziggy would do it. How many first rounders would it take for you?
I need a minimum of 2 first rounders, plus either a couple seconds or a future first or a really good young player.
Okay. I meant me.
Like we're talking like a standout rookie.
Like 3 or 4 first round picks for sure. Starters.
I would really start thinking about it for 3 first round.
3 is when I would start thinking. Probably wouldn't do it.
Anything,
dude's amazing.
2 first round picks, I wouldn't do it.
Just here, I also pulled up this will take a second, the Reverschel Walker trade, just for people to have an idea of how absolutely horrible it was for the Vikings. I'll sum it up here. The Vikings got Reverschel Walker, a 3rd round pick, and then a bunch of other really late picks. Cowboys got Vikings 1st, 2nd, and 6th round picks in 1990, and then they got Jesse Solomon, David Howard, Isaac Holt, and Alex Stewart, who they then cut. And by cutting, the Vikings didn't expect them to cut it. It was a conditional pick on cutting these players. That turned into Vikings 1st round pick in 1991, Vikings 2nd round pick in 1991, Vikings 1st round pick in 1992, Vikings 2nd round pick in 1992, and Vikings 3rd round pick in 1992. So you got 3 firsts, 3 seconds, a 3rd, and a 6th.
And we had Reverschel Walker for 3 years, and he didn't break 1,000 yards once.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I would trade Justin Jefferson for that.
I have a funny story about
That's about it. If the Vikings are to lose this game and go to 0-3, their schedule coming up, they're at Carolina, which hopefully you can win that. But then you have Kansas City, at Chicago, which despite everything going on in Chicago right now, still a tough place for the Vikings, 49ers, and at Green Bay. So those are 4 games that you could easily be looking at a 1-6 Vikings team, a 2-5 Vikings team. If they're 0-3, I would not be surprised at all if the Jets start calling them up about a Kirk Cousins trade. And it very well could happen at 0-3 because this team is not built to win a Super Bowl right now. Even if they want to believe that, there's not enough around them. So what do you guys think about that? To start off, if they lose, would you go about selling Kirk Cousins?
I know it makes sense, right? This Vikings team, I view it like this. I think they're stuck in purgatory with Kirk Cousins.
No, which is hell.
You think it's hell?
Which is actually football hell.
It's between purgatory and hell. Like, they're not going to win a Super Bowl right now with their roster and Kirk Cousins playing quarterback. I think it would make sense to maybe blow it up or restart. And you look at a team like the Jets, right? They can win the Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. Minnesota can't. The Vikings could use some high picks. The Jets don't need them. So, yeah, I mean, why not? The Jets come calling. I think I'd bite.
Isn't it hard, though, to give up? When you look at the NFC North at the moment and you have Jared Goff and the Lions, we're not really convinced.
I don't think it matters because let's say you make the playoffs, right? As like a 10-7 4 seed. What are you going to do? Go to San Francisco and...
So you would rather blow it up than be the 4 seed and get...
Yeah, absolutely, because you're going to get murked again in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Imagine you go to Philly. You can't beat Philly.
Ziggy, where do you come down on this as a fellow Vikings fan? Kyle Rudolph said it's worth a conversation for what it's worth.
Yeah, just to put numbers on things, right? Very rarely do teams even go 0-2 and make the playoffs. Since 1990, about 12% of teams that have started 0-2 have made the playoffs. Past 3 years, 23 teams have started 0-2. Only the 2022 Bengals have made it. But to give folks an idea of how rare it is to start 0-3 and make the playoffs, since 1980, 6 teams have done it.
Yeah, well,
that's it. So it doesn't happen very often, right? So once you're 0-3, as you say, the season's over. Now, I think the Vikings should actually be taking calls now, but we can get into that a little bit later. Once you're 0-3, Kirk Cousins isn't signed long-term, right? It's not as though they've got a lot to look forward to. The Vikings, it's unlikely they're going to be able to compete in the near future. Why bother keeping Kirk Cousins if you can get a 3rd or 4th round pick from the Jets? Give Kirk, do right by him.
3rd or 4th? I don't want a 3rd. I'm not selling him for a 3rd
I
or
think
4th.
No, because you got to keep in mind that's for one season at Kirk Cousins, right? He's not with the Vikings next year.
Yeah,
we don't want him.
No, but I don't like. This is gonna sound greedy here, but I want a 1st round pick.
You're not getting it for 15 games at Kirk Cousins.
But the Jets could win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. Without
are the
him, they
Jets
don't make
able
the
to
playoffs.
give a first-round pick now for Minnesota?
They give a future pick. I don't think they give their first round pick for next year.
So like 2025 would be the draft probably.
But I think that makes sense because the Jets don't need a first-round pick. You can use a first-round pick.
No, but Ziggy said they wouldn't give that up.
There's no mark. Like, here's the thing, right? In order to get a market for a player, you need there to be two teams bidding. Only one team's going to be bidding for Kirk Cousins, and that's the Jets. No one else wants to go out and acquire this guy for high draft. But it doesn't matter. Like, what matters is what the market is. And if the Vikings start 0-3 and are ready to blow it up, they'll take what they can get.
I would rather, here's where I come down as a Vikings fan, and any Vikings fans in the comments, please let us know. If the Jets didn't offer a first-round pick, I would say have fun this year with Zach Wilson, and I'd try and win the NFC North. Because the NFC North isn't good. I'd roll the dice.
I mean, also, yeah, make the Jets beg.
Yeah, they should.
The Jets
have a great roster.
The Jets, hence bringing Aaron Rodgers, want to win it now. And with Kirk Cousins, they can do that.